Hey everyone, if you're watching this pre-recorded or you're here live, I really appreciate you being here. My name is Avi Hacker and I'm the founder of the AI Consulting Network. In this presentation, I'm just looking to cover the basics of what is AI, how does it work, how is it being used, and just to give you a little bit more information about how to get started if you really just know nothing as of right now. I'm just going to run through with you a few basics of the fundamentals that you need to understand to just get started. I graduated Brooklyn College with an accounting, business management, and finance degree. And then I worked as an auditor by PwC for 2 years. And that wasn't fulfilling, so I switched over to law school. And during law school, I worked for a solo practitioner, a real estate firm, really delving into the intricacies of real estate law and corporate law. And I learned the fundamentals of how things should be ran. And once AI came out, I was so fascinated about the technology, about how it could really improve our lives, enhancing our business process, making it more efficient and more automated, that I really just started delving into all the practical use cases and learning this every single day to how to make it better for me. So now I'm trying to take that knowledge of combining the AI world with the business, finance, founder, CEO world of companies and merge those worlds so they could really benefit from the technology. And this is not something to be afraid of. This is something to really embrace that could really enhance your company on a whole nother level. So what we're just going to run through today is we'll start exploring, as I said, the fundamentals of AI. I'll provide a brief introduction. Then we'll dive deeper into what is a large language model and understand its capabilities and how it works. I'll show you the most popular ones right now that you should be aware of if you're not. And then following that, we'll explore some real practical use cases. Now that you know what these large language models are, how do you actually use it? And that's the big question that everyone wants to know. There's so much hype, but how can I actually use it or you use it to make yourself more productive? So just starting off is what is AI? AI is basically the simulation of human intelligence in machines. It teaches machines how to think, learn, and solve problems like humans do. And this is kind of an overall bigger picture. Think of AI as like the big heading, and then under it, there are also terminology that I'm not going to go into further detail right now because this is just a basic starter course, but I just want you to be familiar with certain concepts that if you do see them out there, it would really be beneficial to be aware of. So those are machine learning, neural networks, natural language processing, and computer vision. So those are subsets that work together to create an AI system that can perceive, learn, and make decisions. Now, the big question is around what is a large language model? You have these models that are trained on massive amounts of data and could understand and generate human-like language with pretty good precision. There might be errors and everything is prone to errors, but that doesn't mean it should not be used because humans make errors. So doesn't mean the large language model should also never make errors. We just have to keep it in perspective and utilize it to the best that we can. So I'm going to try to compare a large language model to basically a car engine. If you think of a basic engine, and then I'm going to compare that to a small large language model. Think of a small fuel-efficient engine that you might find in a small car. So it's designed for everyday use, good mileage, reliable performance, and for just standard commuting. So now comparing that to a smaller large language model that we'll discuss in the future, these might be better for simple tasks like drafting emails, providing basic customer support, or generating straightforward text. They're efficient, they're cost-effective, but they may not handle very complex, heavy tasks well. So then we can move up to a medium large language model that's trained on a lot of data, but also not as complex as the large language models. So then you imagine this as a more powerful engine in kind of like a sports car. It's designed to offer balance between performance and efficiency, and it can handle more of a task easier. So these large language models could handle more complex queries, generate detailed reports, and offer enhanced support for applications that require a bit more power and sophistication. So these strike a good balance between power and usability, depending on how you want to use your machine, because these do take up a lot of power. So do you really need to use a really powerful large language model for a simple task? And then you have your high performance engine in a race car. That is your top of the line large language model. This engine is built for speed, power, and handling intense workloads and delivering top tier performance. So these large language models could excel at high complex tasks such as advanced data analysis, like nuanced natural language understanding, and generating high quality creative content. So these large language models are better for more robust and versatile use cases. Now, the reason that these large language models matter is because if you're having a certain task, you want the large language model to match the kind of task you're doing in terms of complexity. So just as you wouldn't use a race car engine for a daily commute, you wouldn't use the choice of the LLM would really depend on the task at hand. And if you're a bigger corporation or company, you want that to be most efficient as possible. So you want to lower the cost for the tokens being used, and it will also consume less power. So now moving on to the more popular large language models, and there's a big misconception that when people think about AI, it's not just ChatGPT. It's like there's a lot of other AI models out there that excel at different tasks, like I explained before, that you don't always should go just to ChatGPT to do anything you want with AI. I'm going to dive into more of the popular ones. This is not an all-inclusive list, but this is to get you started of what is out there. So the first one is, of course, ChatGPT, which everyone knows about. So ChatGPT is the AI model that's by OpenAI, and their newest LLM is ChatGPT 4.0. So this has the most advanced large language model processing that could understand and generate human-like text, and it's very useful for various texts like answering questions, generating ideas, and assisting with writing. And here is what the current interface looks like if you log on to the website. Personally, I like to use ChatGPT mainly for creating my own custom GPTs, where you'll see on the left-hand side, it says Explore GPTs. So you see here in the main screen that you ask it questions, and it may not give you an answer that you would like, but if you go to Explore GPTs and create your own custom GPT, you can create your own tailored, precise bot that would give you information and answer in the way that you like it. So that's just ChatGPT in a nutshell. You could upload files. If you go on the app, you could have voice, you could talk to it as voice generating, and there's a lot of very cool features to use. So the next AI model is Claude by Anthropic. So I like using Claude particularly for writing tasks, and it handles a longer context window effectively. So one of the limitations with ChatGPT that I find is if you give it a lot of information, if it's over 128,000 tokens, it might not remember the previous text that you give it. So if you answer a question and follow up, it's not going to always remember. So Claude has much bigger context windows, and it delivers outputs in a much more human-like way. So that basically, in a nutshell, is why I like using Claude for writing tasks and ChatGPT for my custom bots for maybe more of a nuanced prompting and file analyzation. So the next one we'll move on to is Perplexity. So I personally love Perplexity because I basically don't Google anymore. And I know, as crazy as that seems, it's just that Perplexity has really changed the game in terms of researching various topics, and it cites the articles that it uses to pull up your answers. So you could always look at where it's pulling the information from and verify its accuracy. So if you're looking for a market analysis or academic research, it really gives you such a detailed answer very quickly, and it's been a game changer for me. And if you see here in the focus tab, you could either change certain settings to look across all of these things that it encompasses, or if you're looking at academic research, or if you click the writing tab, then it won't look up any web searches, so it'll just go back and forth with the LLM that it's talking to. And then it'll do math for you. It could look across the videos, and it could look across Reddit forums, which I don't usually utilize it for. My main two are just the web searches and the writing tab, because in the settings, you could actually talk with various LLM models in the pro version. So it's kind of like you could talk to Claude or ChatGPT's model if you don't want to use Perplexity's model. So I personally have mine set up as Claude's model to be run on Perplexity's search database because of that larger context window, and it gives it back to me the information in a more of a human-like way. So I like that setup, and that's how I do it for me. The next one's Google Gemini. And personally, I've been playing around with this a little bit recently, and I find it's actually very good. Integrated with the Google Suite services and apps, which is like Google Docs, Google Sheets. So you could really get this integration. I do want to start exploring more on how to use Google Gemini in my workflow, because one of the key things about this is this has the biggest context window out of all of them, almost like 1 million tokens. So you could upload a movie and ask it to transcribe the text or ask it questions on anything. So you could just upload it into Gemini and ask questions, and it would really give you great answers. And it's a remarkable LLM to try out. So the next one is Microsoft 365 Copilot, which I also haven't been using so much, but this integrates into the Microsoft 365 ecosystem. So you could access it with Word, PowerPoint, Outlook, and there's been so many studies around how it really improves your efficiency, because this kind of integrates with your computer right away. If you have a Dell or a Windows, you'll see the Copilot icon that you could just pull up and start talking to right away. So you don't even have to pull up a tab. So that's what they're trying to go to, as it's really going to be integrative, and you could just use it whenever, as simple as possible. And it has great security around it because it's part of the Microsoft 365 ecosystem. So they're marketing that as like you should trust the models, which I'll dive into later, because I always say that no matter how much you could trust these models, I would always like scrub the data or take out your personal information, because there are data leaks and we don't know exactly right now on where that information is being stored and how it's being trained. So there are also ways to try to protect your data better. So now those are basically the main ones that I've been using and playing around with. There are others out there, like Facebook's LLM Meta, it's called Llama, or Elon Musk has one called Grok. I'm finding that once you find one or two or three that is good for your use case, I feel like you should just stick with it, because if you start jumping around to every single one just to try the newest thing, then you'll just get lost. And really perfecting one of them or two, like I said, like Perplexity for research, ChatGPT for custom GPTs, and like Anthropic Claude for writing, that's kind of my setup right now. And that has been great for me. So now this is where I feel like most people are having their biggest issues. And it's how, okay, this is great, this is powerful, but how am I applying it to me? Like, what can it actually do for me on a daily basis? So this is just some examples that I do all the time, every day. So you have emails you want to be summarized. You have documents. It could easily summarize documents. You could upload those documents and ask it to give you detailed analysis. Or you're on a Zoom call, and these are like, there's so many AI powered apps. So there's Otter or Zoom summary meetings. So you record those meetings, and then you get a full summary after the meeting with a full transcript or a summary. And then you could follow up with those transcript or summary in a personalized email. So now you take that transcript, you go into ChatGPT, be like, okay, I just had this meeting, and could you create a personalized email just following up, thank you for your time, and that's it. So what could have been done in maybe, I don't know, a half hour to try to think of an email, really take like 5 minutes. And like, it just, the amount of time it helps you back in your day is really unbelievable. Custom GPTs, which is for a different range of tasks that you want to provide personalized assistance to. But I'm not covering that right now because that's just more complex on how to create that. But I just want you to know that is possible. People are creating chatbots for their websites. So you could upload knowledge bases into these custom chatbots. So now anytime someone goes onto your website and asks a question, it's kind of like they could almost be talking to you and your website, because you could upload all the information that you wanted to know and respond how you want it. So now you don't have to constantly be on call for every single question that someone may have, that someone could just ask the chatbot and it'll provide an answer tailored directly to what you wanted to respond as. There's also for content generation for social media or advertisement. How long are you taking on an average day to write a post on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook? You could help AI do that for you. And then I always say, edit the content to make it more personalized and sound more like you and less robotic. But just to give you the first draft, it just saves so much time. If you are in a market, you want to analyze vast amounts of data, you could go to Perplexity. Tell it to give you trends in the market. And then you could take that data and analyze it in ChatGPT or Claude or in Perplexity. And then it could really pull out different areas that you might not see that could really give you a lot of an edge over your competitors. And so the next thing that I like to use it a lot is for idea generation and a sounding board. So on ChatGPT, if you have the app right now, you could interact with it and talk to it. So I kind of like open it up and just be like, okay, I'm thinking about this idea. I want to do it in this way. And then it's kind of like having a conversation with a personalized assistant, but like a genius assistant, because it really could pull from all of its knowledge, because right now ChatGPT made their latest large language model free for everyone. So everyone has access to the best large language model. You could do almost anything you could imagine to a certain extent if you're able to properly instruct and layer the prompts properly. If you don't know how to do a LinkedIn content schedule or a posting schedule, just ask it. If you don't know how to do something for work, you don't have to give it personal information, but just ask it the questions. Start playing around with it. You'll be surprised on how much it actually knows and how much it could actually help you. Go to right now, if I can't figure something out, like I'll take a screenshot of my screen and be like, throw it in AI, ChatGPT, and be like, okay, like, how do I fix this? How do I do this better? And then since it has the visual component, it knows what I'm looking at and it'll help me. And it usually solves my problem within 1 or 2 prompts. And then the next possible use case could be data analysis and visualization. So you could take your Excel spreadsheets, upload it into ChatGPT or Claude. You could upload Excel and you could play around with the data. You could ask it to give you a trend analysis, a forecast. Tell me if there's anything like a problem or something that you're just not realizing based on the Excel data you have. And now even in ChatGPT, you could interact with the Excel spreadsheet. You could play around with the columns. You could tell it what you want to focus on. You could create graphs. You could create charts. You could create presentations. And just like this, I used Gamma to create this presentation just because it was amazing. And I used ChatGPT to help me create the content of how I wanted it to look. And then I went over to Gamma and then it helped me create and I edited it, but it saved me so much time. So just starting to wrap up towards the end. So I just also want to say that as amazing as AI is, like it can produce inaccuracies and biases due to flaws in the training data and the algorithms. So anything it gives you, you need to verify the information to make sure it's accurate. Like never trust the data 100%, always review everything. It's always good as a first draft, never just to do anything automated and send without double checking the work because you could have not given enough context for what you're looking for. Or so it thinks you're maybe looking for something else, or sometimes it might get a calculation wrong. And people get frustrated by that, but at the end of the day, that's still like, it's okay if it gets it wrong, like here and there. But like for the most part, it's really enhancing your efficiency overall. So if it's doing a calculation wrong, you could say, oh, hey, by the way, you did this wrong. Do you know why you did it wrong? Can you tell me like what happened that you did it wrong? And sometimes you realize that it thinks you're referring to a different calculation or that it just didn't know that exact calculation that you were thinking of or had been trained on, so it kind of made something up. And that's where one of the limitations are. So you could kind of be like, okay, for the future going forward, for this calculation, use this formula. And you could create that custom GPT to do that. So now every single time you do that exact formula, it'll know to use that exact calculation. So there are ways to make it more efficient, but you also have to know that there are limitations and you should also always verify the output. And regarding security concerns, I always say that you should never really put personal identifying information inside the large language models. Like really do your best not to give it anything you shouldn't, especially if you're working for a company and they don't allow you to use large language models. Maybe they have their own proprietary large language models that's in an enclosed system, but because some of them you could opt out of training data, some of them you can, some of them delete their software, but always just be on the cautious side and never really put real information about anyone that you wouldn't want to get out there, because at the end of the day, this is new technology and it's evolving as we speak, and there's a lot of security concerns around this. So just be smart with how you use it. And yeah, so that's basically the introduction to AI, and I'm going to go into a lot more detail in later webinars. I'm passionate about helping people integrate AI and learn more about AI in their operations and to get a sense of what is out there and how it could possibly help them. The possibilities are really endless. Once you start learning about AI, which model is best for you, you could really enhance and increase your productivity on a scale that's unimaginable. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. My most active platform is LinkedIn, and I would be more than happy to set something up to meet with you and discuss with how I can make AI applicable to you and help you integrate it into your company. So thank you for watching. I hope you have a great day.